Dear students, today we are going to discuss about price output decisions under different types of market conditions. So far we have developed the demand side and supply side. They explain the revenue side of the business and the cost side of the business, and bringing these two together we can determine equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity of output under different types of market conditions. So the points for main discussion are price output decisions under different types of markets. We mainly focus here on a simple classification of markets and then perfect competition. In detail. These are the important aspects for today's discussion. So whatever may be the type of market, we need to determine how equilibrium price is determined or established and how equilibrium quantity of output for sale is decided. So to start with, the standard classification of markets is very simple. It is based on just two ideas. One is number of firms in the industry and nature of the product. Based on these two, we can classify markets into four types. First one is perfect competition, wherein there are large number of buyers and sellers in the market and the product is homogeneous. If there are large number of buyers and sellers in the market, and if the product is homogeneous, we call it as perfect competition. And the other extreme opposite model is monopoly. So monopoly is a market situation where there is only one firm in the industry, there is only one and only one seller in the industry, and the product is a unique product. It has no close substitutes at all. These two are theoretical models. Either monopoly or perfect competition never exists in real world. In the real world situation, we will find either monopolistic competition or oligopolistic competition, or oligopoly or oligopolistic competition. So in case of perfect competition, there are large number of buyers and sellers in the market and the product is a homogeneous product. Homogeneous means exactly identical. The product of one seller is exactly identical to that of other sellers in the market. And there should be large number of buyers and sellers. It implies that taking into account the total market as a whole, each one must be relatively so unimportant, so small relative to the total market. That means we cannot exert any influence on the market established price. So in the perfect competition, price is given. A firm is a price taker but not price maker. So the market established price cannot be altered. A single firm, by its activities or actions, it cannot exert any perceptible influence on the market established price. And the product of each seller is exactly identical to that of other sellers. These are the two essential conditions for perfect competition. And the opposite one is monopoly, where there is only one seller in the market and the product is unique. It has no close substitutes at all. It is a unique product. And in between these two theoretical models, the real world situations of monopolistic competition or oligopoly lie. So what is monopolistic competition? Here, the number of firms are large and the product is a differentiated product. It is not homogeneous. Large number of firms and homogeneous product is the case of perfect competition. And large number of firms and differentiated product is the case of monopolistic competition. And so product differentiation is the central characteristic feature of product for monopolistic competition. Coming to oligopoly, Here there are very few sellers in the market, and the product may be either homogeneous or differentiated. But the focus is on very few sellers in the market. If there are only two sellers in the market, it is a special case called duopoly. So this is how we classify markets into various types based on the two parameters: perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. So our job, our purpose here is price output determination under different types of markets. We have to study. Our focus is mainly on how equilibrium price is established or how equilibrium quantity of output is determined. Whatever may be the type of market, you should remember that the intersection of demand and supply that gives you equilibrium price. And equilibrium quantity of output is given by marginal revenue and marginal cost. Equality of marginal cost with marginal revenue, that gives you equilibrium quantity of output or sales. This is true in case of perfect competition or monopolistic competition or oligopoly. So we have to see how these are determined under different types of market situations. So this is in brief about the points that are going to be covered in this session, and let us start with perfect competition. Here we have mainly three aspects. One is what are the characteristic features of perfect competition, and then how equilibrium is established under conditions of perfect competition. Equilibrium of firm and industry. How an individual firm attains equilibrium, and how an industry attains equilibrium under conditions of perfect competition. So here we study equilibrium in the three time periods: market period, short run, long run. This is about perfect competition or price output decisions under perfect competition. These are the salient aspects we have to focus on this chapter. Let us begin with the main characteristics of perfect competition. While classifying the markets, we have seen that there are two important conditions. One is large number of buyers and sellers, and nature of the product is homogeneous. In addition to these two, there are another two more conditions are there. The first condition is large number of buyers and sellers, and each one must be very, very small, large numbers and small in size. This implies that the buyer must be very, very small compared to the total market. He cannot exert or alter the market price. He has no power to change the market price. He cannot obtain any special considerations, rebate or discount, etc. He is so unimportant. He has to buy at the market prevailing price. Similarly, each seller is so unimportant that by making changes in his output, he cannot alter the market price. That means a seller is a price taker but not price maker. Price is given in the market, determined in the market, and at that price the seller has to sell his quantity of sales. And then the demand curve of an industry and firm. This is the demand curve, and this is the demand curve of a firm under conditions of perfect competition. The meaning here is, if one firm wants to sell more units of output at the prevailing market rate, it can sell any number of units of output. It need not reduce the price. If it increases price, sales will be zero. To sell more units, it need not reduce the price. So the demand curve is a horizontal straight line. When demand curve is perfectly elastic like this, demand is equal to average revenue, that is equal to marginal revenue. That is one aspect. And the industry demand curve is downward sloping. The reason is, if all the sellers in the market wants to sell more units, they have to reduce the price. And if they want a higher price, they have to accept a lower quantity of sales. So both they cannot decide. So either of that they can decide. If all the sellers want to sell more units, they have to reduce the price from the existing prevailing level. That's why the market demand curve of an industry slopes downwards, and the demand curve of a firm is a horizontal straight line under conditions of perfect competition. The first condition we have seen, that is large number and small size. Second one is homogeneous. What is the meaning of homogeneity? The homogeneous means the product of one firm is exactly identical to that of others. And third one is, that is a perfect substitute. When all the firms are selling same product, the buyer is indifferent from which one he has to purchase. He is indifferent because the same product is available at the same rate and same features and quality. So the buyer is indifferent among the sellers. The third condition required for perfect competition is free mobility. Free mobility of resources. It is a very exacting condition. Free mobility in its broadest sense implies several things like free mobility of labor, free entry and exit, free entry of new firms into the industry, and exit of some of the established firms from industry. And so let us see, suppose it implies that labor must be mobile, not only geographically but among jobs. That means that the requisite skills must be very few and easily learned. Otherwise, mobility among jobs is not possible. So that implies that labor can mobile not only geographically but among jobs also. And it also implies that there should not be any restrictions for the entry of new firms into the industry and exit of some of the established firms from the industry. That means there should not be any patents or copyrights. If patents or copyrights are there, entry is not easy. And similarly, if investment required is very large, new firms may not enter. The investment required must be within the reach of everyone. And another one is there should not be any cost advantages to the already established firms. So these are very difficult to realize. And the fourth condition is perfect knowledge. Each economic agent, be it consumer, producer, or resource owner, must possess complete and knowledge. Knowledge about not only about the present but also about the future. So it is a very exacting condition. So consumers, they should know the prevailing market prices. In the absence of knowledge, what happens when the lower price ones are available? They may pay a higher price for the same product. So consumers must have knowledge about the prevailing prices, and similarly producers must also have knowledge about the prevailing market conditions and prices, and resource owners also should know the remunerations payable to the facts of production, etc. And in its extreme situation, knowledge about not only the present but also future is also assumed. How many units we are going to sell in the future? That knowledge is required for producers. That is very difficult because future is always uncertain and nobody knows what happens in future. So these are the four important conditions that are required for perfect competition. And now, regarding terminology, some of the economists, they use the word pure competition, and some of the people, they use perfect competition, and you can use them as interchangeably because it's not a very serious aspect. And the first two conditions, generally they are referring to as pure or perfect competition. And if the four conditions are implied, that is the implication of a pure and perfect competition. So its controversy regarding terminology is not very important. And let us assume that perfect competition implies all these four conditions. Now, let us begin with short-run equilibrium of your firm and industry under conditions of perfect competition. So far we have studied short-run and long-run. What is the meaning of short-run? Short-run refers to that period of time during which certain inputs are fixed and certain inputs are variable. That means output can be increased or decreased by making changes in variable inputs. Okay? So output adjustments are possible even in the short run. And coming to long run, there's a period of time during which all inputs are variable. That means output adjustments are possible without any constraint or limitation. And these two time periods may not cover all the cases, and there is a situation that is known as market period during which output is absolutely fixed. A firm has no control over the supply of output. If it cannot alter the level of output, either increase or decrease the level of output, that period of time is known as market period. So market period will be defined as that period of time during which output cannot be altered. Examples for this is, say, immediately after the harvest, agricultural produce cannot be increased until the next harvest. You have to wait for the next harvest. Or take the case of a businessman who maintains inventory levels. All of a sudden there is a demand for the product. If he wants to increase the inventory, he has to place order, and order time and delivery time entails minimum time at least. And that period is known as market period. And we all know that, so take the case of fish market. Whatever quantity is brought to the fish market to today, it has to be sold immediately. That quantity is fixed, and the price depends on the demand here. So these are the examples of market period. So let us start with equilibrium under conditions of market period. So here you need not study the equilibrium of firm, because a firm has no role here. He cannot adjust its output. So equilibrium of industry under market period. You can explain this by way of, this is the market period.